What's up, y'all? Bud Elliott here of the Nolecast, and I want to bring you a Monday update episode where I just kind of, review last game, pick a couple topics, maybe some things that I saw upon the rewatch of the ball game, general state of the program stuff. We'll probably have a guest on Thursday to preview the upcoming opponent at SMU, and maybe some little shorter form content coming your way as well. Just some fun things that I want to do with the show. I always want to thank our sponsors here. Of course, we have the legendary team. Chad does such an awesome job. Almost 600 Nolecast loans have gone through Chad now, and that is awesome. I might have to do something special when we hit 600. I don't know. Maybe a special, I don't know, impromptu live show or something like that, but should be a good time. So 844 FSU loan, 844 FSU loan is the number to call. So something that I think you will pick up if you watch this ball game, I certainly did. And then I ran my numbers that I run each week. You realize FSU's going a lot faster, like a lot faster. So every week I pull a bunch of numbers to kind of figure out, okay, like what are teams doing as far as intent and pacing and whatnot. And this was kind of interesting. So this week, Florida State operated, and I only care about the first half because I feel like the second half pace is largely dictated by game script, right? Are you up? Are you down? Et cetera. Where in the first half, teams generally kind of run what they want to run. Uh, so Florida State had been running a really slow tempo. I think that they were taking, not necessarily a bad thing, but they were taking quite a long time on their headsets to get the play in and make the adjustments and whatnot. Probably because DJ is a really poor processor at quarterback, and you got a lot of new moving pieces for this offense. But check this out. So entering the day, okay, Florida State was where are we at here? Florida State was my 99th pace team in the country. They're 134, so pretty slow. But I mean, that's tied with 89th, but somewhere between like 89 and 99, I had the Noles operating. Now, this weekend, this is pretty interesting. 20th. Florida State snapped the ball in the first half, according to some charting data that I have. There were 16 seconds on the play clock on average. Now you might say, okay, like the drive at the end of the half obviously eats up some of that, and sure, but I'm gonna tell you, like that's not normal. And I tell you, and like the thing is, sometimes we see these teams that are operating slowly. If they have a game where they're having a lot of offensive success, then they decide to go fast because it's easier to call plays on second and three, right? You know what works on second and three? A whole lot of stuff, right? So same thing with like third and two. So that's actually not the case here. Florida State in the first half only had a 35.6% success rate, and that would rank them 92nd in the country among all success rates in week 4 of college football. But yet they still operated at a top 20 pace. Why? Is this intentional? Was it actually good? I don't know. I mean, the results say no, right? I mean, 35, like I said, outside the top 90 in offensive success rate on the weekend. So that sucks. This is more interesting than it is, um, I don't know, good, right? I'm not really sure there's actually any benefit you get from doing this. Maybe going super, super slow makes some sense. In fact, with how bad this offense is, I think operating more at like a, Louisiana Monroe, Army, Michigan tempo actually might make the most sense because like every time you snap the ball, you're losing points on an EPA basis. So limiting the number of snaps you have to play, keeping your defensive line, which is playing pretty well, fresh, is probably the smart play. So I think I'd like to see Florida State run like 50 or fewer plays every game the rest of the season. It'll also just help this godforsaken season get over with faster, especially when we have to watch this trash offense and DJ, which sucks to watch, unfortunately. It's not a knock on him as a person. It's just, like I said, I'm very out on watching this. But that's as a fan. As an analyst, I'm not. So I went ahead and got some charting stuff together, and we can talk about that a little bit. I don't really think that he's being optimized with his play, and I don't think he's really optimizing the offense on the flip side. So, if you want to optimize something, you could optimize your business with the help of our friend Matt Lewis at Congruity. CongruityHR.com/Knowles is the number to call. Payroll solutions, logistics, whatever business optimization you might need, partner with Matt, partner with Congruity, Congruity.com, CongruityHR.com/Knowles. Okay, so yeah, Florida State, first half, 35.6 success rate. Told you they snapped the ball pretty quick. That's neither good nor bad. It's just, it is what it is. 24 rush plays, one touchdown, 12 completions, 7 incompletions. Obviously, the clock does not run on a touchdown. So, there's that. And the clock does not run on incompletion. So you had, um, what, 35 clock running events basically there in the first half, which is pretty interesting. And 8 plays in which it did not run. So you had the ball a lot in the first half, which was cool because your defense was playing out of their mind. All right. Couple stats here that I want to share about the quarterback position because I did not give a whole lot of analysis on the QB other than I just don't think DJ's any good with the current setup of this offense. I don't think that he is taking advantage of his opportunities. I would play somebody else. Clearly, Mike Norvell does not agree with me. Mike Norvell makes a lot more money than I do. It doesn't mean that he's always right. Doesn't mean I'm always wrong. I'm sure he thinks that DJ gives FSU a better chance to win. We have a lot of you who are asking, like, hey, through the patreon.com/Nolecast, like, do you think Mike has a secret plan to play DJ after the Clemson game so he doesn't just look terrible against Clemson? Or sorry, play Brock after the Clemson game because you get a bye week and then you get the Duke game. So maybe like that timing could work out. I see that, but I don't have any knowledge that there is some sort of specific plan there. Okay, so let's get into this. A couple stats I think are really going to blow your mind and why I would advocate for a quarterback change, regardless of them still listing DJ atop the depth chart and Mike Norvell saying that DJ is their guy. They have a 2.8 yak average this year. That's unbelievably bad. Yak is yards after the catch. So if you're averaging 2.8 yards, I mean, that's holy cow. That's one of the worst in the country by a ton. I mean, they get almost no yak. Their screens go nowhere for one. But the other thing is the inaccuracies from DJ, even on completions, are a real problem. And so I went ahead and charted this as well with the help of our friends at StatsBomb, which I will show you. Let me see if I can pull this up right here. Where we go? Here we go. Let's go to 3-to-2 aspect ratio there. All right. So this is probably better. Some of these are going to be better seen on YouTube. I apologize. Just it is what it is. Let's take a look here at what we have from DJ with his passing targets this year. Holy cow. So, I mean, look at this. The ones in green are successful plays, right? And are caught. So you do have a couple drops. Got a couple drops. That's cool. But look at all of these empty circles here that are just would require really kind of superhuman efforts to catch. This is not a target pattern that would allow for yards after the catch to happen. And yes, we don't think these receivers on this football team are great, but guys, take a look at this. I mean, this is pretty concerning. I don't know how you're going to catch some of these balls. And in fact, you generally won't. You're going to need to really be pretty superhuman. Now, if you're DJ, you're probably like, hey, these couple in the middle that if we're at the gun range, that the target's dead. Yeah, no doubt. Got to have those. I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on target drops, I think we could say. Maybe 7 if you want to count that one there by the left side of that guy's head that you'd like to have. I don't disagree with that. I mean, it's not good to have, a drop for every 20 minutes of football, which is kind of roughly what that would equate to, maybe every 25 minutes on this season. So totally get that. But ultimately, just not an accurate enough passer to allow 4 yards after the catch to happen. So that's a problem. Never hitting guys in stride, allowing them to run with the catch means everything is stagnant. Okay. Part of that, I think, is because he's a poor processor and doesn't see stuff quickly enough. And so by the time the guy's open and he sees it, the defense is also seeing the guys open, and thus they're closing in on it. So that's one of the problems. Also, just not generally putting the ball in a way that is allowing the receiver to not break stride, not allowing the receiver to maintain balance that they can burst out of their catch position and go and make extra yards. All of those things are certainly problematic there. So let's go here and go to the next one. I actually don't have a slide for this. This is just stuff that I charted using some of my formulas, and I plugged some of the stuff. I ripped some. Sorry, not plugged. I ripped some of the stuff off StatsBomb. So on plays where the targeted receiver has 3 or more yards of separation, okay, that's basically wide open. I mean, 3 or more yards of separation is quite a bit. There's like what, 30 of these, I think. These are kind of your money opportunities, okay? Right? Like not tightly covered, got a real chance to run after the catch if you put an on-target ball. Oftentimes there are a lot more than just 3 yards wide open. This is just a minimum of 3 yards of separation from the nearest defender, okay, at the time of the decision. I mean, this is problematic. So check this out. 47% success rate. Good quarterbacks, when they have 3 or more yards of separation, are well over 50. I mean, this is like mistake pitches in baseball that I would expect you to hit over the fence, and DJ is not doing so. So 47% success rate. Now, look, that's a lot higher than their normal success rate because their guys don't make contested catches super well, okay? And they do have a couple drops. 17% chunk play rate. And that's not like 30 plus. That's just your 15 plus rate. That's horrible. I mean, I'm not trying to be crazy negative here, but people are like, why are you so convinced? I can compare it to other quarterbacks we can isolate with data for the situation, and that ain't it. When you have 3 or more yards of separation, a good ball is going to allow the player to catch it and run. I mean, hell, just like a decent ball. You're going to have a lot more catch and run off that. In many cases, you're going to have just nobody ever touches the guy, and he's going to go into the end zone. I mean, these are just meatballs down the heart of the plate being just whiffed, and that's not good enough. Yards per play on these type of plays. Like again, these are the type of plays where your explosives should come from. Sure, every once in a while you'll have an explosive where it's a contested catch. Maybe the DB falls down because they're both in the air, and the guy walks into the end zone. That type of thing, or whatever. Guy misses a tackle, but I mean these are your money opportunities, and they're failing in this area. 7.4 yards per play. That's garbage. Sorry, like that's just not going to get it done. You got to have somebody who can put the ball on target, and just doesn't happen over and over again. So those are some of the reasons why. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at one of these radars because I do think it's pretty interesting. If you want to, let's take a look at DJ's radar. This is presented by StatsBomb. All right, see if you guys can see this here. If I F11 this. All right, so check this out. Let's look at some of these areas. So air yards per attempt. DJ is actually slightly above ACC average, right? So the ACC average is going to be the area in gold, and DJ is going to be the area in garnet, just for clarity if you're watching at home. I will try to read out the numbers. So he's slightly above average in air yards per attempt, but not nearly as much above average as we thought he was going to be when they brought him in, because it was basically going to be, hey, run game and deep shots. Now, some of that's not his fault, clearly, because the run game has been poor, and I don't think that taking him is necessarily a terrible mistake for the purpose taken. Again, for the purpose taken, I think it made some sense to take DJ. But clearly, they don't have the people around him that would allow him to thrive, given a lot of the offensive line injuries that you've had and some of the receiver problems that they've had. Now, look at this. Okay. Time to throw. DJ, 2.8 seconds. League average, 2.6. I mean, this time to throw is like he's got what 10% more than the league average. He holds the ball for a long, long time. The ball, like it's not like the rushers are on him immediately in many cases. He just takes a long time to process and does not get the ball out quickly. In fact, many times I believe he actually has time to deliver a good ball, but he is not able to do so. So again, I would play somebody else. Ravel thinks he gives him the best chance to win. Why? Like in games, he does not show an ability to take advantage of some of the things that would, in theory, make him the best. I think you need to put somebody in there who can be a better runner if you're worried about that. But clearly, he's getting a lot of time to throw relative to league average and is not cashing in on it. So that's pretty interesting. And that's only going to go up, by the way, because FSU's played a pretty hard schedule of teams. Like they have played 4 legitimate teams. That gap between his time to throw and everybody else's is only going to grow. Leaving the pocket percentage, leaving it much more than league average. Again, poor pocket presence, like not doing a good job on that. Quarterback rush percentage, well below league average. Obviously, we've gone over this. I don't think he looks very athletic right now. So that's certainly a problem. And if we look at some of these other metrics over here, right? So his chunk percentage is above league average. Chunk percentage is defined as plays that gain 15 or more yards. But his explosive percentage, which is defined as gaining 30 more or more yards, one of the worst in the entire country and way below league average. I mean, yikes. So not great there. Success rate, again, extremely below league average. Completion percentage below league average. Completion percentage over expected, actually slightly above league average, which is interesting. EPA per rush, EPA per play, EPA per pass, all like a good ring and a half here on this radar chart below league average. His sack percentage is also below league average, and that in the bad direction, unfortunately. So yeah, I mean these charts are pretty damning, but I do think a lot of this is on him. So that's again, when people got mad that I said I don't want to watch this, I don't want to watch this. I'm doing it for the Nolecast, but I think the people who decided not to go to the game last weekend when they found he was starting, I think they made the right call. I would not go if I was just a fan. Personally, I'm not going to go watch that. All right, so let's go to. All right, let's take a look here at some of these player comps. I think this is another interesting one from our friends at StatsBomb. So these are the most comparable players, both by performance and by trait so far this season. Now, let's first start out with what's our minimum plays, at least 100 and let's go with at least 100 plays. Okay. So we get some interesting names in here. Nathan Lamb from the Western Illinois Leathernecks. Don't know anything about him, actually. Brock Vandergriff has been benched at times this year for a guy who could not win the starting job at Rutgers and is basically just a wildcat quarterback. So not a good year so far from him for Kentucky. Jack Lausch is the Northwestern backup who's now been elevated to the starting role. He's pretty awful. Byron Brown, by the way, at USF, who's had a terrible year throwing the football, but has been really, really good rushing. So a lot of the comps you're seeing here, if you take a look at the screen, are throwing wise, I mean, pretty similar. Identical negative 0.7 or sorry, 0.07 EPA per pass. So that's horrendous. Net yards per pass, both under 6 for the USF quarterback and for DJ. Success rate, I mean, 36, 38. So pretty close there. Ultimately, though, the difference is right here. EPA per rush for Brown, 0.15. EPA for rush for DJ, negative 0.05. So that's not great ultimately there. And yeah, just and 0 picks for Byron Brown and 2.4 for DJ. If we increase here, and then Tyson Fomachan, who is he's the UMass's quarterback. So these are some of the worst comparisons you could make in the entire country. I mean, Kentucky, Northwestern, UMass, just awful quarterback play across the board. Let me see here. If we switch to 125, we bring in Parker Awad, who was the New Mexico State backup, who got to play a little bit and then got benched for the third stringer, Nico Santucci, who got beat out at Wake Forest. So he's no longer starting for New Mexico State Aggies. Kyron Drones, who is basically just a rusher at this point. The throwing for him has been terrible, but yet it's actually been in some cases better than what FSU has had. Again, negative 0.07 EPA per pass, which is big yikes. A little bit higher success rate for him, a little higher net yards per pass. They've had a pretty difficult schedule there for the Hokies as well. So I don't want to say that is against a markedly worse competition, but in some ways, Old Dominion is clearly worse than Memphis is defensively, I think, but maybe not after Navy scored 60 on Memphis over the weekend. If we increase to 175, we bring in a couple more here. So Braden Traeger, who's had an awful year so far for Hawaii, Cam Fancher, who might be the worst starting quarterback in the FBS. If you watched him against UConn, that was crazy. Braden Fowler Nicolosi, the guy who got claimed to have a $600,000 NIL offer, but I thought maybe that was 600,000 lira or pick a currency that is nowhere close to a US dollar equivalent. So, EPA per pass for him actually notably worse than what DJ is. He's negative 0.25 and DJ is negative 0.07. So over 3 times worse there. In fact, if we bring it to 200 plays, Jacob Zeno, Cade McNamara, the Iowa quarterback. Okay. Brendan Lewis, who is the backup at Nevada, who's had to be thrust into the starting role. There's just nothing here that is redeemable about his performance so far. Now, Garrett Green is actually a very interesting one. This is why I wanted to keep sliding to the right, just in case we got somebody who is kind of encouraging. Garrett Green, positive EPA per play and per pass, 0.17. So some interesting traits here, but the overall shape of his radar is kind of similar in a couple of areas to DJ. By the way, so is Fernando Mendoza, except he's a whole lot better in certain areas, like success rate. 44 versus 36 is not comparable. That's a world of difference. Obviously, explosives and chunks are actually kind of similar. This is, I don't know, to me, kind of interesting. I don't know if you guys find it interesting. Let's go 250. Anybody has 250? Yeah, so basically the same thing. Anyway, that's one of the worst passing charts I've ever seen in my life. So I don't know. People could say, "Hey, you saw what happened with Auburn, right? They put in Hank Brown over Peyton Thorne, and he was not the answer, and they still lost the ball game. At least the fans get to find out. I don't think anybody hyped up Hank Brown inside Auburn. So I don't know. I think if you're a fan out there and you are using your time and dollars to come to the game or not to come to the game, I think you got every right to say, you know what? No, man, I don't owe FSU anything, right? This is just entertainment. Like this, I get, how many weekends in the fall do I get? 16, 17? I don't have to spend my weekend watching the Noles if they're going to run this type of product out here on offense. This is unacceptable, and I'm going to find something else, something better to do with my time. I don't really think there's anything wrong with that, especially not this weekend. If you wanted to do that this weekend, I don't blame you at all, man. 0% chance I would go watch the Noles if they run DJ out over watching. We got some absolute banger games this weekend. I would not waste my time if I didn't have Nolecast with any eyes on this game if they run DJ out. Now, if they run Brock out or Luke out, at least that's kind of interesting. Give me some kind of hope. Give me some kind of look for the future. I know Norvell and those guys are still in we got to win ball games. They're in the coaching win mode. But honestly, I don't think Florida State fans care. Like 3-9, 5-7, 2-10. I really think like to them, it's the same thing. It's not anywhere close to the level of success that is expected at this program. And even if you were somebody who didn't think Norvell could win a national title with the way he recruits, and certainly I was one of those, um, you still thought that he would be pretty consistent with winning ball games here. And so far this season, they've not done that. They don't have any real chance to do that this season. So you do kind of want to see what you got coming up next. But I have some more stats and some more interesting stuff here. All right. So let's get rid of that one. Let's bring in this one. What we got here? All right. Can you guys see this on screen? This is every pass so far that DJ has thrown. So your red dots, as you might imagine, are interceptions. Your dark green dots are touchdown passes. There's pretty easy to find one. Down the left side, that is Ja'Kai Douglas right there, the long one at the top. Completed passes are in kind of that mint color. Incomplete passes are, as I said, the purple dots. Out of bounds passes are obviously the empty circle. So FSU has all off season and all preseason hyped up the speed they have, and they want to throw the ball deep and take deep shots, which makes some sense if you have a quarterback who can't read a defense. So at least if you throw picks there, they're deep picks and they're like pseudo punts. Here's the thing. You've only thrown 12 balls this season, just 12, with 25 or more air yards. I'm going to just kind of highlight them here. I mean, this is, and that's kind of generous. I mean, there's two that are right on the line. I'll go ahead and count them. That's not even like one per quarter. If this is what you wanted to be, right? Like, what are you doing? So you're 4 of 8 on him. One of the 8 that you missed is an interception. 2 are out of bounds. 3 the defender tipped, and another 3 are overthrows. Completed passes, 4 of them. 1 went for a touchdown, so that's pretty awesome. So 33% completion rate. Only 4 successful plays there. Obviously, anytime you complete one, it's going to be a success. 4 rated as explosive, 8 rated as failures. 1 was a turnover. Here's like a crazy part. If you hit somebody in stride, I mean, 2.3 yards per catch. It's kind of nuts, right? Like you would think that somebody would be able to run after catch a little bit more with these, but that's not the case. Oftentimes the ball is late or the ball is not so off target that it is unable to be caught, but it is so off target that the defender has a chance to get back and make the play, either breaking the pass up or just making the tackle immediately. I mean, 2.3 yards per catch on balls thrown more than 25 yards in the air when you caught 4 of them. That's unbelievable. Like you'd think you'd hit 1 in stride, but so far they just they can't seem to do so. So it really limits this offense's explosiveness again. And as I noted, man, I got no interest in watching that. All right, let's be a little more positive here, I guess, before we end the show on this. I don't know what else I can really say. This is kind of crazy. So, one thing I do want to say that is positive is that, well, actually, I gotta, let's go a couple positive things here. Number one, shout out Jalen Early. First game, kind of bad. Second game at tackle, because Rob Scott didn't play and Byers didn't play. He was like one of your highest rated players on offense for PFF, which is cool. I think we noticed it in the games, like, DJ's got a lot of time to throw the ball, even against a pretty damn good Cal front. I mean, Cal's the best defense you've played by quite a bit. And even though your quarterback play remained terrible, your offensive line gave him a lot more time in this game, I thought, which was encouraging. And maybe we can just kind of write off some of those problems with Jalen to first start jitters. I mean, that was his first like legitimate start as far as I can recall. And if you roll him out there with Washington going forward, and I think you're going to get Byers back at some point, even I know you're banged up on the interior right now, like that is that's got a chance to be a lot better than you thought it did. So, positive note there for sure. Another positive note, our friend Matt Thompson, awesome group of restaurants. Charlie Park, you should be going there for brunch. You should be going there for drinks. You should be going there for dinner. Charlie Park Rooftop is fantastic. Everybody should go. It's awesome. Also, Madso and Township, right there in town. I'm sure everybody in for Parents Weekend had an absolute blast. Go there this weekend, hit it up, watch the SMU game, watch a lot of other good games that are probably more entertaining than our Knowles will be. And then also, let's go ahead and highlight some guys on defense. Specifically, when I was trying to put together some play animations for tonight, one thing that came up consistently was that Cal had a general lack of tight ends, slot receivers, and backs running wide ass open. Okay. Compared to what Memphis had, what Boston College had, and at times, although they attacked differently than what Georgia Tech had. And do you know who was often blanketed on those guys? Number 20, Blake Nicholson. Like Blake Nicholson may not have the best football instincts yet. He's still learning, obviously, but that kid can run. That guy looks like he belongs speed wise in a Florida State defense. And it's good to see that some of the defensive guys are being put in a position now to use their skills and minimize their weaknesses. Now, you might tell me that Cal's run game kind of sucks because their offensive line is not any good and the defensive line ate their lunch. And sure, agree on all counts. No problem. And that other teams will probably have a lot more success running the ball at Nicholson. Fine. But for now, I'm going to take the small win that Nicholson is giving, and that is covering pretty decently, which you have not had at the linebacker position on this team in quite some time. So I'm encouraged there. You had a lot of young guys play in this game on defense. In fact, you had let me find my snap count thing here. Where we at? You had 22 guys play 10 or more snaps on defense, and 18 of them played 20 plus. I mean, that's like Conrad Hussey played 20, right? Q Jones played like almost 30 and played well, by the way. I thought. I mean, I don't know if we need to do the clamp celebration after every single incompletion, right? But whatever. Do backflips as long as you don't get flagged for it at this point. If you're a person on defense covering somebody and doing a good job of it. I thought the combination of Alolahea and Marvin Jones Jr. from a run defense, pass defense standpoint was great. Like Lolahea has very little pass rush juice. Marvin Jones does have a lot. Marvin Jones Jr. does not have a lot of run defense juice to him, but Lolahea does. So Lolahea a little more on early downs and Marvin Jones Jr. in obvious passing down situations. That worked pretty well. People also really ragged on Daryl Jackson in this game, but I don't really know why. I mean, I don't think he was dominant. So from that standpoint, yeah, looked like Tarzan, play like, but not really like Jane, right? Just it's more like look like Tarzan, don't play quite like Tarzan. He's not playing terribly. He's just not dominating like a guy who looks like that was expected to by this coaching staff and by all the scouts that came to Tallahassee. Everybody thought he would in the preseason. So that is encouraging. I mean, Pat Payton obviously made himself quite a bit of money. Maybe not as a coverage defender. Okay, I don't know if Cal had a tell there, or sometimes you're just playing paper rock scissors. Okay, and Fuller throws paper and Cal throws those scissors or whatever the combination. Yeah, right. So FSU paper, Cal scissors, and they end up exploiting Payton when he was in coverage a number of times. But they're not. I don't really think that they have a tell on that. Okay. I think just at certain points, some stuff with defensive football can be random. And so, do I think it's a great idea to drop Patrick Payton into coverage that many times? Not really, but guys, it's less than 10% of his total snaps on the game. Okay. It's, yeah, it's just not a huge deal to me, but it didn't work. It doesn't mean it never works. Certainly they have run successful zone blitzes before, and certain fire zones and things like that where they drop the defender off. But in this game, it did not work so well. They need to get Shine Brown back and playing with some confidence. I don't know exactly what's going on there, but the last couple games from him that he's actually played have been quite disappointing. So do need to get him back to playing at full health. But I was generally encouraged that this defense played pretty okay situational football, with the exception of some of the third and long stuff, which was a problem, certainly. That was a little bit more about tackling in the open field at times, I noticed, than it was just nobody covering guys, which I think is an improvement. Okay. There's a bit of randomness to tackling the open field. Nobody covering a guy at times is certainly more of a coaching, schematics, chemistry, communication point. So I think you take that, right? Now, tackling is important and you do need to tackle some people, but a couple of these, shoot, like one was clearly just a give up play on a 3rd and 8 that I think they're just trying to get a couple yards to get closer to field goal range, and FSU just allows them to to juke everybody out and go for the first. In fact, I think they had 2 of those if you include that little screen to the right there that they got away with. So pretty decent defensive effort. I mean, offense continues to be an absolute disaster. You'll see a lot more of Cam Davis going forward because Roy Dell is out. Mike Norvell announced, and I think you'll probably keep seeing more Hakeem. Probably have to see more Jakai. You did notice in this game, not a ton of receiving snaps for some of the veterans who are just not really contributing. Okay, I mean, Kentron got 12 total snaps on receiving plays. Don't really need that, right? Deuce Spann got 1. Why? That's to me, that's 1 more than he should get, to be honest. Like Morlock, Toa Philly, Jakai because he actually is probably your most reliable guy. Benson because you have to have somebody with the deep speed to threaten him, even if you never hit him. Like at least in theory keeps him honest, but in many times is not. Hakeem, Jalen Brown because you do like him long term, and try to rotate some of the freshmen. I don't think you need to see Kentron and Williamson out there. They're just like they're not difference makers now, and we know there's no future for them because it's their last year. So I would try to tighten that rotation up a little bit personally. We'll see if they do. That's pretty much it, I think. Yeah, little 40-minute show tonight. Enjoyed it. And I will see you guys again with the preview. Whew. Man, I, I don't know if I can do another 8 games with this quarterback play. This is yikes. I'll see you guys on Thursday. We'll just pretend like they have a solution there. Take care.